Hi, my name's Nick. I'm from Boise, Idaho, and I have been diagnosed with schizophrenia. There are many misconceptions about schizophrenia, one of which is people who have schizophrenia have a split personality. And this is a misconception. They have a split with reality at most, but not a split personality. That's actually a different disorder called dissociative identity disorder, or multiple personality disorder. There's also the fact that many people believe it's a very rare condition, and that's simply untrue because 1 in 100 people have schizophrenia. I was lucky enough to be one of those one. Yay me. There's also the misconception about the hallucinations, or that they hear voices, and this is not the case with all cases of schizophrenia. And so I wanted to talk to you a little bit about what I've been dealing with my schizophrenia to help educate you on the different symptoms of schizophrenia and the different ways it manifests. So some of the most common side effects of schizophrenia would be, to start with, delusions. Delusions come in many different forms. You have delusions of grandeur, and this is the belief that you're very important, or you're like Napoleon or Jesus Christ, or that you're meant to do something great, and or that you have a special ability that nobody else has, like the ability to control things with your mind. I actually suffer from this one. I always believed I was more important than most people. I always felt like I was supposed to do something great with my life. And not to say that I won't or I can't, but this was most likely a symptom of my schizophrenia. I also believe that I had the power of telekinesis, which is being able to move things with your mind. I remember several instances where I would try to sit there with an object and try to move it with my mind. This got kind of embarrassing because there was one instance with a ball that I tried to move it for about an hour with no success. So, that was kind of a low point. Another delusion is delusions of persecution. This is believing that everybody's out to get you, that everybody's against you. I also suffered from this one. I always believed that people were always talking bad about me behind my back, that everybody secretly hated me. This actually could be true, but it's most likely a symptom of my schizophrenia. There's also delusions of control, thinking that somebody else, something outside of yourself, is controlling your body or your mind. Like aliens are trying to hack into your mind to control you. Not everybody who has schizophrenia has these symptoms, but they are common. There's also delusions of reference, and that's believing that there's a certain, instances that it holds special relevance to you. Like if you see a billboard or a sign, you think that message was especially for you. The next big symptom is, of course, hallucinations. These manifest in different ways. They have hallucinations of a visual nature, hallucinations of an audio nature, and hallucinations of any of your senses, really. And what a hallucination is just seeing something that nobody else can see, or hearing something that nobody else can hear except yourself. And, people who have done drugs, know what a hallucination is. And this manifests in many different ways, depending on each case of schizophrenia. I don't have this symptom. And that's one of the misconceptions, is that everybody that has schizophrenia has hallucinations. But this wasn't one of my symptoms. And I got rather confused by this because I thought I was missing out on one of the great symptoms of schizophrenia. But they told me that schizophrenia isn't a checklist and you have to have everything on the checklist. It's more along the lines of you need 5 of the 7 things to have schizophrenia. And I had 5 or 6 of the things. The next big thing is disorganized speech or disorganized movement. This comes in a lot of different forms as well. You could have where the person is always trying to rhyme things, or the person is smushing together words to create new words or making up words on their own that hold only special meaning to that person, or they're just very scattered with their speech. This is sometimes called a word salad, where they're just tossing words in there, and it's just a big jumbled mess. Now, the body disorganized body movements, or, motor functions, that also manifests in a lot of different ways, like, moving or twitching, or just getting antsy and just, having to move. It also disrupts goal-directed activity, causing impairments in a person's ability to take care of himself, work, and interact with others. So this, appears in a decline of overall daily function, unpredictable or inappropriate emotional responses, behaviors that appear bizarre and have no purpose, a lack of inhibition and impulse control. And I suffer from this one, and I kind of suffer from the disorganized speech, as I try to get through this without going off tangents as much as I can, but it's hard. Like the lack of impulse, I have that one, or inhibition, acting on impulse. I do a lot of things on my own. I just, I get the urge to do something and I have to do it. I'm spontaneous. And so, ladies, if you're looking for a man that's spontaneous, it's not always a good sign. And my girlfriend can attest to that. Another symptom is negative symptoms. And these appear in like a kind of a lack of emotion or response. Having a very flat face about a lot of different things, not reacting the way that normal people should react to things, having a very flat or monotone voice, and just overall not expressing a lot of joy or excitement about a lot of things, just being kind of dead and mute and uninterested. And this can eventually create kind of a loss of interest in the actual world, kind of seeing everything as pointless or meaningless, which, for me, was one of the things that led me to get help, because I lost interest in almost everything. Another symptom is, of course, violent behavior. This doesn't always manifest, but in some cases it does. For me, it did. In various ways. Like, I had urges to self-harm, that's a big one, and I used to have urges to carve up my face, create these huge gouges in it, with blood pouring out. This always seemed appealing to me. Or having violent impulses about other people. And that's pretty much most of the symptoms of schizophrenia. Or depression is also another one, but that doesn't always manifest. So for me, a lot of things that have happened that made me get help was I started getting very violent thoughts about other people. They were non-personal thoughts. Like, everybody's had that thought where they just want to kill that one person, but for me, there was no discrimination. It was everybody. I would just see somebody, and I would just start imagining hurting them, torturing them, and even killing them in very violent manners. And I'd always been morbid and kind of, morose growing up, and I used to have all these thoughts about violent things like blood and gore, but they were always my thoughts, and this could have been early manifestations of my symptoms, but I just thought that I was just a little weird and a bit morbid. But they evolved into these very violent thoughts about other people, about me causing these violent things to these people. And I didn't feel like they were my thoughts anymore. I felt like somebody was taking these thoughts and putting them into my head. I couldn't control it. I felt powerless and weak. I lost all control of my emotions, my behaviors, my actions. I was spiraling. And so this made me go seek help. And so since then, I've gone to see a nurse and I've gone to see a therapist. The nurse helps with my medication. They have me on an antipsychotic and an antidepressant. And the therapist helps me work through a lot of the issues that I have. And it's been a great help, but I still have problems. I still have instances where it affects my daily life. There's been times where my symptoms crop up and I've had to miss work, or I fall behind in my schoolwork. And it's just something that I'm always going to have to deal with now. And for me, for a while, I didn't believe it. I didn't believe that I had schizophrenia. Every time I would go to see the therapist or the nurse, I would ask them, "Do you still think it's schizophrenia?" And their answer would always be yes. And it just settled on me more and more. And it's been scary, and it's been unnerving, and it's just made me feel powerless. That I have no control. But the medication and the therapy is trying to instill in me control. And it's helped to a degree. But I'm always going to have these instances where it doesn't. And it affects my life in ways that I wish it didn't. And so I'm always going to have to deal with it. It doesn't mean that I can't have a normal life. It just means that there's going to be speed bumps in that life. And I just have to learn how to better cope with these speed bumps in my life. So that's me in a nutshell. And if you have any questions or comments for me, I'd be glad to answer them. If you like this video, make sure to like it. And I'd love to hear from y'all. Anyway, thanks for listening. Bye.